This is where slot car racing began for me as a little boy growing up in the early 70s. And this is where it's at now. And while I love this is Carrera Digital 124 scale, there's always going to be a special place in my heart for the AFX HO scale. That's what I grew up with, that's got me into it, and that's what I stick with. And so that's why I'm doing this video. So I want to call all slot car fans of all different scales, shapes, sizes to just unite and let's support each other. There's a lot to be, a lot of fun to be had in every scale. And I've put out some of my collection here just to show you just how much fun you can have in any scale. And you know, I know some people, they just say, I just like 124 scale, or just like 132nd, or 143rd, or HO, or the you know, the Thunder Jets of the 60s. But there's so much fun in all scales. And I just say, if you have the room, if you have the budget, to just try out some of the things I'm going to show you. I'm going to take a little diversion here and show where it all began for me in cars. And I think in my previous video I had mentioned that when my mother would go shopping, the only way she can get me to go was to promise she'd buy me a die-cast car, a Matchbox or a Hot Wheels. And so I had a vast collection of these things. I'd always get one or two every trip. And so there's not too much left. I probably have some hiding in the garage or somewhere in this house. But these are some that I was able to fish out, especially just these, where they were Matchbox and Hot Wheels. And you see that blue one with the chewed up luggage rack. Now that one, I was upset. My dog Lady, she chewed it up in the early 70s. She was just a puppy, but and I was upset about that at the time. But now, to me, that's very special to me, knowing that that's her chew marks, and I'll always keep that one. That's very precious to me. And there's a couple of more recent die-cast cars. There was a period I was heavily into NASCAR in the 70s and 80s, and even into the 90s very heavily. So you'll see a lot of my collection is very heavy on NASCAR, but it's pretty diverse now. So getting back to the AFX, like I said, they have a special charm. They are very, very unique in a very unique and charming way. I don't know how else to put it. It's something that will always stay with me. And they put out some very interesting cars. Of course, all the different kind of stock cars and all different sorts of things. They even made nice little things like lap counters. They had a race timing system, which I did have, but I still have it in the garage, but it's in pretty bad shape now. But that was great because when my friends and I used to have to hold a stopwatch to time all the cars, and so having that, which broke it down to I think 1/10 of a second, that made it really nice to race. And AFX put out some nice special different kind of cars. They had the Too Much and the Turbo Turn-Ons. They had Jeeps and pickup trucks and Bajas and Blazers, a lot of special little cars. And they really were pretty diverse. They also have like the old model, I think T Fords and Woodies and things like that from the early 19th century, 20th century. And they were very special. I don't have any of those, but they're special looking cars. And now these were cars that were very special to me. These I like, Capris and Monzas and the BMW M1s. They were very nice AFX cars, but I love them in the Carrera Digital. They just do a great job with them. And I think I've really been turned on to the M1s. So I have a lot in my collection. And if you race, now this is Tyco track that I have, and but there's all different kinds of tracks that you can use. AFX makes nice track, and Auto World, but this is Tyco, and I like Tyco for one reason, and for one, it's a good track, and it's been with me a long time. But they have this turbo boost system, which is great because I have 2 young grandchildren, and they like to race, and they like to, of course, they just hold the throttle down. So this system, even though it's called turbo boost, it actually kind of works the opposite way, where it restricts the power. So you can turn this down in each lane. So if you have a young child racing in lane 1, turn this down half power or however far you want. They can hold the throttle down, and you can play, full throttle and just tease them as you go around. And as they get better, turn up that power button for them, slide up that throttle. So I think that's a great system. Now, AFX started making, towards the latter 70s, started making G+, which were much faster cars with a much stronger magnet, and they were very, very fast. And they weren't my favorite, but not like the magnet traction and the non-magnet traction, but they made some beautiful looking cars, so I collect them. I've collected them. Now these 2 over here, I wish I had taken better care of. These, the 6-wheel elves, which are now like 2-wheel elves and 3-wheel elves, they're very fragile. So if you ever come upon these things, take good care of them because they're very fragile. I had bought one and destroyed it real quick, went and bought another one and destroyed that one real quick. And if I would have known now what I know today, I would have taken very good care of them, probably never taken them out of the box because they are collector's items. So, but not in this shape though. So take good care of them. If you find one, you're lucky. If you have one, that's great. Now, after AFX went out of business in the early 80s, I started collecting Tyco, and there's some nice Tyco. Of course, I was heavily into NASCAR, so my collection is heavily into the slot cars, which they did, a large number of NASCAR slot cars. And when my son was born in 90, of course, I got the slot cars out again and collected some more. And as he grew, we would race. So Tyco was the thing, because by then the AFX tires were starting to deteriorate a little bit. So it was kind of hard to race AFX. So Tyco was where it was at. They had stronger magnets. They would stay on the track, and that was where to go. So we raced Tyco, and Tyco had some nice cars. Oops, sorry. They had weird things like the twin mill and pickup trucks and cars that glow in the dark. And just a brief diversion here back to Aurora and AFX. They made these nice looking tractor trailers. These aren't the original rigs, but those trailers are the originals, the Aurora and the AFX, and I love those. It's fun to race trucks, I have to admit. And Tyco, they made trains. They made turbo trains. And they have these cars available now if you want to add on to your sets. I have 2 of these trains, and they can race each other, and it's a lot of fun to watch them go around. And that's something that's very unique. Now, after AFX and Tyco, I picked up these 2 Marchand slot cars. I think they're set cars, and those are the only 2 that I have of that from that company, and those are nice looking cars. And then after that, when my son was getting a little older, we started to find some Lifelike cars in the hobby stores. Whenever I would take them to the hobby store, we'd pick out some Lifelike cars, and those were extremely fast. So that's what we went with. I think they were faster than the Tyco, so these were the ones that got raced a lot. And so now, after I get back into the hobby, after all these years, now that I have 2 young grandchildren, I said, let me get back into that hobby. And I discovered what Carrera Digital could be, and I got into that very heavily. But now I came back and got back to my roots, and I see HO has improved quite a bit. Auto World has picked up where everyone else left off, and they've made some nice cars. They made some Thunderjets, which I never had any original Thunderjets from the 60s, so it was interesting. I like racing those. I do have these 2 T-Jets that these I think were called Tough Ones, and I had picked them up. They were in a box that I picked up in a garage sale way back when, and they never worked, but I always held on to them. And so now I was able to fix them up. There's parts available. If you look online, there's nice stores like Slot Car Central and Bad L's Hobbies and Innovative Hobby Supply and places like that, Bob's, Lucky Bob's, that have parts for all these cars. You know, anything you need, from springs, commutator brushes, and pickup shoes and tires. It's all available online, so you can spruce up your cars and get them running. First time ever for these 2. Now, like I said, I have the 2 young grandchildren, so I got these Thunderjets. These are all Auto World. They're all Looney Tunes. There's a couple of series of Looney Tunes cars that were put out. So those are waiting in store for the grandkids. And also Skeletric, was it my first Skeletric or something like that, puts out a nice set of these Looney Tunes cars, and Micro Skeletric, that's what it is. And this is a beautiful Audi that I was trying to find in the Carrera 124th scale, but that is hard to be found. So I've settled for this, and it's a beautiful car. And also AFX is back in the business under the Race Masters name, AFX Race Masters, and they're making some extremely fast cars and also beautiful cars. And you can tell I love Chevelles. You've seen the AFX Chevelles earlier, and so I had to get a couple of these Chevelles. And these 2 cars I just find just totally beautiful. These are the Formula E cars, which they call Formula N. And when someone had pointed out that if you look straight from the front, I don't know if I can show you here, if you look towards the back wing, it looks like a bird in flight. And when someone pointed that out, I was sold. I was like, that's it. I'm gonna get a couple of these. So I added a couple of these, and I like racing. And they're very fast. They stick to the track very well. But like I said, with that turbo from the Tyco track turbo boost, you can turn down the speeds a little bit. So younger kids, inexperienced drivers can have a lot of fun with them and not fly off the track all the time. And there's other, Auto World has a variable, power supply, and you can rig up one yourself. But I like the turbo boost, and I think I'm going to get the Auto World 4-lane track when that comes out sometime in the fall. And that's got that variable, power supply. So now Auto World also has 4 gear, which are more geared towards drag racing cars. And of course they made the Mystery Machine and the Batmobile. And so I like a lot of drag racing. I grew up with that in the 70s as well. So there's some big stars here that I just had to have their cars. The Don Garlits, Big Daddy, Shirley Muldowney, and the Snake and the Mongoose, and the Wonder Wagon. So those are 4-geared cars, which AFX made a series of them as well. And Auto World also makes Extraction, what they call Extraction. It's the same pretty much as AFX Magna Traction. And I think there's an extra magnet, so there's a little bit more magnetic force to them, which is good if you have younger children, and they're fun to race. And it's nice to see they're keeping the hobby alive, and they're coming out with some beautiful new cars, and attributing back to the 70s, as you can see with these cars. Now, with the Tyco track, you can see you can't do digital with the HO, as far as I know, but Tyco does have these lane changing tracks. So you could switch over if you want to incorporate these into your layout and switch back across. So keep the integrity of each lane. So that's available if you're into HO, or if you'd like to explore that. Now, we're going to get into the 1/43rd scale, which I believe does not receive enough attention or get enough credit or enough love that I've seen on the internet. A lot of people just gloss over this because either they're into the HO purely or into 1/32nd purely, and a lot of what you can get in the 1/43rd are just minor, smaller versions of 1/32nd scale cars as far as Carrera goes, and SCX makes them. I don't have any SCX, but they're probably the same as Carrera, where they're just smaller versions and less detailed versions. So if you don't have the space for the larger scales, I would definitely recommend these, because they're a lot of fun to race too. And you can do the same things you can with, the 1/32nd scale. But I find, and what I use mainly the 1/43rd scale for, is the fun stuff. Now, this is for my grandchildren. As they get older, I'm going to introduce this. Now, I had said my friend was very into comic books, but I never was. But, seeing his comic book collection, I always saw he had, Captain America and all the Marvel stuff. So Carrera Go, the 1/43rd scale cars, make a lot of the superheroes cars. So you could see there's Spider-Man and Captain America and Iron Man, and over here there's even the Joker, and there's cars from the Transformers. So there's a lot of fun stuff. And they also got heavily into Cars, the movie Cars, the movie series Cars. And they have put out a ton of different cars, automobiles. And a lot of these are great because they have what they call ground light effects, where the underneath of the car glows. So as the car goes around the track, it just glows in the dark from underneath. And a couple of these they have like, they call them rockets or something, where they have, like rocket lights coming out the back. And very interesting. It's more than just headlights and taillights on these cars. So this is a very interesting series. And they make some wild stuff. They have, that orange truck is that has the ground lights where it glows all over. The kids can turn off the lights and really have fun racing those in the dark. They've just made a couple of 4 different actually of these Lego. Well, they're called Build and Race. So you can use Legos or any type of bricks of that sort and build your own cars on top of these. You can take these shells off and build on top anything you want. I bought a couple for my grandkids. That my son has a goat track set up in his garage on a ping pong table, and so I bought a couple of these for him, a couple of different styles, and they have them, as well as some Paw Patrol, because one of my oldest grandsons, he's into Paw Patrol. He loves Chase. So we bought him a Chase and Marshall. Now, Carrera Go also makes Yoda and Darth Vader. And they also make Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Speed Racer and Racer X, SpongeBob and Patrick, if you're into that. You just had to get it just for fun. This is all just for fun. And of course, the Mario Brothers. My son's got the Mario Brothers, so I have couple of remnants. And of course, there's a Carrera First chase, which my grandson's got the Carrera regular, Go chase and Marshall, but this is the Carrera First. Now, Carrera First is very interesting. You could race it on the 143rd track just as well as the others. And they made some nice cars, some Disney characters. And this is Mattel's Batman and Joker. They made a few Mattel cars, which these are the only ones I have. But those were pretty interesting, especially that Joker mobile, the Joker cycle. Now, Carrera also makes some nice rally cars, which are fun to drive. And now, if you're into 143rd scale, I would suggest get this Carrera Go Plus upgrade. Now, this is very, very, a lot of fun. You get a pit stop, which it'll randomly assign you tasks as you're racing, that you have to come in and take a pit to fix this or fix that or get gas. And with that system, you can actually get wireless controls, which is fantastic when you have little kids. So they're not, holding the controllers in their hands and carrying them away to pick up their cars and rip the whole track apart. They have a wireless controller. So I would highly suggest this. This is a lot of fun, and you could do many different things with it. So look into that if you have a chance, especially if you're going to go with 143rd scale. Now, this is what I consider some of the best slot cars that I've ever seen. I love these. These dune buggies are Carrera Go. They made 6 of them. I have 5. The 6th one is a black one with the skull and crossbones. So I didn't want to pick that up, not for the grandkids. So these 5 are good enough for me. And I put them on the 132nd, 124th track from Carrera to show that these ride just fine. Carrera Go cars and all 143rd scale cars run just fine on 132nd track. So there's that set. Now, Carrera in their 132nd scale also makes a lot of fun cars. They have, now if you're into fun, I would suggest these, the milk truck, that green milk truck. If you press down the lane change button as you go around, it'll moo and it'll make different sounds. And that ambulance, you'll hear a man in the ambulance, if he crashes, when you crash, he'll say, ow, 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 and make different sounds, sirens and things. The milk truck makes a cowbell sound, and a lot of fun. And I have a few other of these trucks, and they all make different sounds, very unique and very, very entertaining for kids and for adults. And also, as you can see, there's the Cars series, not only in Carrera 143rd, but they made them in 132nd scale too. And this car here, this Neon Lightning McQueen, is very unique for 132nd scale. This one will have the ground light effects, that the whole bottom, the underside of the car is clear, and so it'll glow in the dark as it goes. Or, light, I should say, underneath. And kids enjoy that. Now, if you like the older cars, the muscle cars from the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, there's a nice selection from Carrera, and a lot of other brands make those. But I'm also into the GT series, and I love my Ferraris. So these are very special to me. I think I have all the Ferraris that Carrera's ever put out. I love this one especially. I call this one the Rhodes because this one actually, you see a Carrera track on the hood. And I think that's pretty unique. And of course, some other Ferraris. And this one is what I call my captain. My captain is my favorite car. I had a Captain in the AFX Magna Traction. It was that 5 red, white, and blue Matador. That one, when I was a kid, I used to call that one my Captain. And so I had to name a Captain in my current scale here, my 132nd scale. So this is it. It's red, white, and green Ferrari 458. And that one is my Captain. The man holding the camera in the front, that is a tribute to my son, who has been a cameraman for many years at different sporting events. And he also was a UM alumni, University of Miami. So the red, white, orange and green are his colors. And of course that nurse there is the nurse that goes with the ambulance. And she found her way into Victory Lane. And here's some other GT cars that Carrera makes that are just fantastic, beautiful cars. I'm a sucker for that shiny chrome and green. And that blue car, the Heart of Racing, that one I gave to my wife to drive. She loves hearts. We were married on Valentine's Day, so that's her car. That's her baby right there. And she loves it. And there's also, now I have, if you've seen my other video, I have a Carrera digital track set up in a room, in a small bedroom. I have a couple of videos I put out showing that. And also I bought this set to have as something to play on the floor, and it's just Evolution. So it's not digital. So I can run all non-digital cars on this, or I can run digital cars, as these two are. These are digital, but you can run either digital or non-digital of any brand on this, and including the Go cars and all the 1/43rd scale cars. And so I bought this just to have one on the floor. When the kids come over, we could set it up and have a nice race in the living room and then take it down whenever. But if you're a fan of digital racing, or if you've never heard of digital racing, I suggest really doing some research on it. I can help you out if you have any questions, because digital racing, I believe, is where it's at. You can have a pit lane such as this, lane changing tracks, and a whole assortment of things you could do that you just can't accomplish with regular analog racing. Digital racing is beautiful, and it is worth every penny. And so that's where it ends for me. Back to, ironically, at Ferraris. This has been, hopefully a nice tour, and something that you can learn. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments, and I'll answer to my best ability. There's a lot of information online, a lot of YouTube sites to go to, starting with Dave Kennedy and that slot car guy, MP3, slot car, space. Those are like the big three when it comes to the major YouTube video channels for slot cars. But there's also others. Let's see, I have a list here. Now, for die-cast cars, if you're into that, which a lot of people, are scratch builders, and they'll take die-cast cars or model cars and make slot cars out of them. I check out Hewitt's Hot Wheels YouTube channel. He collects a lot of die-cast, and it's interesting to watch, as well as Champion DJK. And also, if you like racing die-cast cars, you have to check out Funkhauser Die-Cast Racing League. Check out his videos. They are a lot of fun. He has this downhill track, and he'll race 4 cars at a time. He's got a points system for where they finish, or if they don't finish, if they crash. He's got excellent commentary as the cars go down the track, and it's a lot of fun. He shows replays of furious crashes, and I guarantee you'll enjoy that channel. So give that a look if you can. Now, as far as Daytona, Daytona. As far as HO, there's Slot Car Crazy, I would say, is the best place to check out, as well as Slot Valley Racing, and Stockpile Hobbies, Daytona Rockledge Speedway, West Coast Slot Cars, Scott's House of HO Racing, Slot Cars and HO Trains, and also ProTinkerToys.com. Pro Tinker Toys. Now, mind you, he's a business. That's Brian Young who runs that, and he's a businessman first and foremost. So he's trying to sell you slot cars, but he loves slot cars, and there's no way you could fake that. He loves slot cars, and he wants to do what he can to keep this hobby going and to improve on the hobby. And he's done some very important things. So watch their videos if you have a chance. Pro Tinker Toys, they have every Thursday night, they have a live stream where they race. It's a family-run business. Brian's brother and sons work there, and they are having a great time, a genuine great time, a genuine family. And every night on Thursday night, they'll have a live stream, and they'll do some racing with Auto World and